In Havana, the 20th summit of the ALBA-TCP concludes with the adoption of political agreement and action plan that endorses independence, integration, and condemnation against the interference of the United States. Three more identified bodies have added to the process of identification of 56 victims of the human trafficking. The Lebanese pound hit a new historic low on the black market on Tuesday as the population struggles to afford basic goods. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Caracas, Venezuela, this is from the I'm Janet Perez Moya. The 20th summit of the Bolivarian Alliance for the People of Our America People's Trade Treaty concluded in Havana, Cuba, with the adoption of political agreements and an action plan that endorses its independent course for integration and against the interference of the United States. ALBA member states approved a pandemic war plan to relaunch the economic, commercial, and financial agenda of ALBA-TCP and build a development strategy. This was a consensus reached in Havana by the head of states and representative of the 10 nations that make up the Bolivarian Alliance. In this first face-to-face meeting since 2019, ALBA member states also celebrate the 17th anniversary of the foundation by late commanders Fidel Castro and Hugo Chavez to counter the U.S. attempts to create a regional trade agreement. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro highlighted the importance of ALBA in making possible the change that the people of Latin America and the Caribbean need.
We have to defend the truth, the rights, and the peace, and the right of our peoples to self-determination, to the free exercise of their sovereignty. That's what we do every day. That's what we say. Next to the plans of defense and combat and the rights, we have to place our fundamental decisions, the ALBA decisions. We have approved a plan. We also find ALBA in the vanguard of the changes and the revolutionary changes that our people need. I truly believe in this.
At the closing ceremony of the 20th summit of the Bolivarian Alliance for the People of Our America People's Trade Treaty, host President Miguel DiazCanel stated that this alliance has kept its spirit of brotherhood throughout the years of pandemic.
The historical leaders of the revolutionary processes of Cuba and Venezuela, Hugo Chavez Frias and Fidel Castro Ruz, founded the Bolivarian Alternative for the Americas, which meant turn into the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America, a true strength of solidarity, of compact unity that honors with its example to our peoples of America. Through all these years of hardships, and with the disappearance of their architects, this alliance kept as a principle the spirit of brotherhood and defense of the national sovereignty. And the almost 2 years facing the terrible pandemic COVID-19, the relation between the state members was felt, especially in the solidarity.
Members of political parties represented in Peru's Congress agreed to defend governance and fight against insecurity in the country after holding a meeting with the President of the Republic, Pedro Castillo, at the government palace. The congressman of Together for Peru And Minister of Foreign Trade Roberto Sanchez highlighted that all political parties which participated in the dialogues called by the head of state have a greater goal, which is to defend democracy institutionally and reaffirm legal stability and social peace. For his part, the spokesman for Popular Action, Elvis Vergara, pointed out that they request to a broader call for these types of meetings, since the government must count with the contribution of all political forces. Meanwhile, the spokesman of Free Peru, Walderman Cerrón, assured that with a wider gathering of political organization, it will be possible to achieve the democratic stability the country needs so much. At least 62 people have been killed and dozens more injured after a tanker transporting gasoline exploded in Cap Haitien, Haiti's second largest city. The blast is the latest disaster to hit the Caribbean nation, driven by a gun violence, political paralysis and acute fuel shortage. Deputy Mayor Patrick Almonor said the situation remains critical and extend an appeal for blood donations. The official report that the fuel tank exploded after it was stopped in the mechanical issues and began leaking gas. People gathered to collect fuel directly from the truck when the explosion occurred. Local officials state rescue efforts are ongoing and that the death toll is expected to rise. Meanwhile, the nearby Justin University Hospital was overwhelmed with patients as those injuries were transported to the facility. At least 90 people were killed by the devastating tornadoes that ripped through several parts of the United States on Friday night. The state's hardest hits include Arkansas, Illinois, Kentucky, Mississippi and Tennessee, where the storm destroyed numerous homes and businesses and caused power outage. The biggest toll was reported in Kentucky, where at least 3 tornadoes were believed to have hit on Friday night, killing 80 people. The number of people reported missing at a candle factory and that was destroyed in Mayfield was lowered to 6 after company officials say that most of the employees had now been accounted for. At least 300 National Guard members were deployed in the state looking for survivors and other victims and helping to clear debris. The mayor of Mayfield, a town in the south of Kentucky devastated by the tornado, called on local residents to return and continue with reconstruction efforts.
We want everybody to come back. I've thought about Katrina several times during this and thought they lost so many people who never came back. But we want our people to come back because we're going to rebuild with those people. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to happen tomorrow and this time next year. If we do an anniversary presentation, we're not going to be ready then probably up like we are today. But I can swear to you that the city of Mayfield will survive this. That's the type of people we are. And we will survive.
We will be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Mexico, continued the process of identifying the victims of the accident that occurred on December night on the Chiapa de Corzo, where 65 migrants lost their life. The brutal accident left a number of people dead and injured after the cabin in which human smugglers crammed more than 130 migrants became detached from the truck. The tragedy was followed by the agony of the families trying to locate the survivors and, in the most tragic cases, to identify the bodies. 3 bodies were identified this Tuesday: Daniel Arnulfo Perez Uxla, Jose Francisco Salanik Haas, and Stanislao Rolando Toc de la Cruz, all of them of Guatemalan origin. With these new cases, the number of identified corpses has reached 22. Forensic authorities confirmed that there are still 34 on indeterminate bodies. A United States appeal court has ruled against the Biden administration's termination of the Trump-era Remain in Mexico policy. The policy put in place by former President Donald Trump has forced tens of thousands of people to wait in Mexico for the resolution of their U.S. asylum cases. The Biden administration relaunched the policy last week following a district court order. The Supreme Court had previously denied a request from the administration to keep the program on hold while the case was appealed. The 5th Circuit upheld the district judge ruling blocking the administration's termination of the program. The opinion issued by 3 Republican-appointed judges said efforts to terminate the program did not comply with the Administrative Process Act. According to the International Organization for Migration, 86 people have been returned to Mexico since the program was resumed last week. President of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, expressed his support to his Peruvian counterpart, Pedro Castillo.
We must help our neighboring countries because this not only supports a president who came from a popular movement, who is a leader proudly born in the mountains, who comes from poor communities.
At least 60 people were killed and dozens more injured when a gas tanker exploded in the Haitian city of Cap Haitien on Tuesday morning. According to overwhelmed local medics, the toll was feared to rise. Deputy Mayor Patrick Almonor said the tanker is believed to have flipped over after the driver lost control while swerving to avoid a motorcycle taxi. Ecuador detected the first cases of the Omicron variant of the coronavirus in a man who was in South Africa. The Health Minister, Ximena Garzón, reported that the 48-year-old man is an engineer from the Ecuadorian Phytosanitary and Zoosanitary Regulation and Control Agency who had traveled to South Africa in November along with 2 other colleagues. His co-workers tested negative. Garzón added that the patient, who was being isolated in a Quito hotel since December, presented fever and general malaise during the connection flight between Panama and Ecuador. The Ministry of Health has carried out an epidemiological siege of all the passengers who took the same flight between Panama and Quito to contain other possible cases. The Bolivian government admitted that so far it has failed in the international campaign to get major pharmaceutical companies to leave even temporarily patients on vaccines against COVID-19 in order to contain the spread of the pandemic. Our correspondent Freddy Morales has the story.
Bolivia began the year demanding vaccines against the novel coronavirus. In February, it obtained 25,000 doses of the 14 million it had proposed for the population over 18 years of age. It closes the year with a lot more, 21 million doses. The government has done everything besides bringing vaccines, mass vaccination centers, vaccination tracking, visiting center by center, neighborhood by neighborhood. Now it is up to the population to take responsibility for this vaccination. The availability of vaccines meant the extension of coverage to children over 5 years of age and the application of booster and third doses. Our people who have not been vaccinated. Let's protect the health of our people. We are entering the Christmas period. For 2 years, we have not been able to hug each other, and now we have the possibility to protect our children. But having solved so far the domestic urgencies, the frustration is evident with the so far unsuccessful government campaign at the international level for the release of vaccine patents for mass production in order to ensure worldwide access. We say that if patents on vaccines were not lifted, we were going to have uncertainty that will last for a long time, and we were right. The campaign has not yet taken off, despite the fact that world leaders have promoted it. United States President Joe Biden, Pope Francis, and other authorities have joined our calls. But even so, we have not managed to lift patents, and today we have variants such as Omicron, such as Delta. There are critical situations, such as those in Africa, where not even 10% of the population has been vaccinated and where Omicron comes from. It is said that it comes from Africa. By extending vaccination from the age of 5 up, Bolivia aims to protect 10 million of its 11 million inhabitants. The so-called fourth wave has been raging for 3 weeks. Since March last year, more than 500,000 cases have been recorded, with more than 19,000 deaths.
Freddy Morales, TeleSUR, Bolivia.
In view of the spread of the new Omicron variant of COVID-19, Cuba is now seeking to produce a vaccine that can combat the variant before the end of 2021. Cuba could have the first prototype of its Soberana Plus vaccine once proven effective against Omicron before the end of the year, according to the scientists working on the research during a meeting with President Miguel DiazCanel. The Director General of the Finlay Vaccine Institute, Vicente Perez, said that the nation is working at an accelerated pace to determine that vaccines are effective against the new variants. According to official figures, 95% of the population has been fully vaccinated using the nationally produced vaccines. In Argentina, cases of the coronavirus has increased by more than 60% in the last 2 weeks, according to the health minister. While occupancy of intensive care units remains stable, the numbers of cases has doubled so far this month, while the Omicron variant of the virus is began to spread. Faced with the possibility of new outbreak, the national government has announced the implementation of a health pass from the 1st of January for access to public events. We have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The Lebanese pound hit a new historic low on the black market on Tuesday as the population struggles to afford basic goods. The exchange rate plummeted to 28,500 Lebanese pounds to $1, a fall of 1,500 of the dollar in the space of just 24 hours. The sudden rise of US dollars has prompted people to take the streets in several areas of the country to protest against an increase in prices and dire living conditions. A number of shops and supermarkets has also closed their doors in protest against the unprecedented financial crisis.
The salaries of the Lebanese did not change, so they cannot afford anything. When a person comes into the store, they ask about the price of an item and then walk away. They no longer have any purchasing power. They can barely pay rent, electricity bills, and food. During these days, whoever comes into my store, I am not selling them any goods, not before the dollar rate is fixed. It is unfair to me and to others. I am only selling candy. People are complaining, and they have the right to do so, because they can't afford anything. Even if a person is getting paid 5 million Lebanese, people used to buy large quantities, but not anymore. One single pepper is for 5,000 Lebanese pounds. Where is the state? Where are the officials? What are they relying on? Do they want to suffocate us more than they already have? No one can tolerate the situation anymore, neither the people nor the business owners, as they can't go on like this anymore.
After liberating more than 90% of its territory from terrorist groups, the Syrian government, people and their allies are focusing their efforts on the diplomatic and economic fields to reach a political solution to the conflict. We have more details in the following report with our correspondent Hisham Wanous.
In the political arena, Damascus urged us to prevent any external interference on the work of the Syrian Constitutional Discussion Committee and stressed the need for the dialogue to be purely between Syrians reflecting their aspirations and not be a process that favors agendas of countries hostile to Syria. A position announced during the meeting held on Sunday between international mediator Geir Pedersen and Syrian Foreign Minister Faisal al-Mikdad, which was described as comprehensive and good. We should know and analyze not only the Arab position, but also the American, European, Turkish, Russian, and Iranian position on the unfolding of events in Syria, and I believe there is a possibility to start exploring the ways forward in the process, and I hope we can continue these consultations in Geneva in the near future. At the same time, at the economic level, Damascus is hosting the Syrian-Iraqi Business Forum until the 15th of this month, with the participation of 50 companies and numerous businessmen from both neighboring countries. This meeting integrates meetings, seminars, and work visits on-site to learn about the Syrian market and the opportunities to increase trade between the two parties. We intend in this meeting to promote cooperation between Syrian and Iraqi industrial zones and cities, as well as the creation of an agricultural investment and marketing company based on the importance of the agricultural sector in the Syrian economy, since we are a producer country and we are looking for a market and a way to export our agricultural products to our brother nation of Iraq. At the same time, more than 50 industrial companies from Syria and Iraq are participating in the first edition of the Export Fair taking place in the fair city of Damascus, a trade event aimed at sharing experiences in the industrial and commercial sectors for the two countries and the benefit and the reconstruction phase, in addition to expanding the partnership between Syria and neighboring countries. We hope that this fair will help our Syrian brothers to increase their industrial activity and increase cooperation with us in the industrial field, and we know the good quality of Syrian products, and therefore we ask Syrian businessmen to build factories in Iraq to improve the industry and the economy of both countries. Syria, in defiance of European and American coercive measures, is opening up to its neighbors and its allies such as Russia, China, and Iran through economic channels, a move that seeks to consolidate the steadfastness of the Syrian people in the face of Western attempts to achieve through political pressure and economic sanctions what they could not achieve through the terrorist war.
Hisham Wanous, TeleSUR, Damascus, Syria.
We have come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and you can also follow us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram for TeleSUR English. I am Janet Perez Moya. Thank you for watching.